You can use whatever apples you want.
That's right. How do you like them apples? What's up? It's Kat and Deb from Two Market Girls, and welcome back to another vegan recipe. And today we are doing another challenge video because we have to, because Catherine says so.
Devin, are you so happy?
No.
And for this one, I mean, you didn't have to, but like it was easier to bake for this one.
Yes, which is like a loaded statement because no, it wasn't.
Why didn't you try a savory recipe then?
I couldn't think of any.
Could have made like a stuffing.
That's a nice thought now, isn't it?
Okay, Devin, what's the challenge?
It's the apple challenge.
It's apple season.
Yes, I would consider it apple season. Apples are in season.
Yes, it's apple season, so how could we not do an apple challenge?
Yeah, and because we've already done the pumpkin challenge, so we had to do apples.
Yeah, another fall fruit.
Exactly.
Devin, what did you make?
I made an apple fritter loaf.
Which sounds delicious.
I hope so. What did you make?
I made apple turnovers.
Also delicious.
And so easy to make.
That's much better. Do that. Just do that.
Just puff pastry and apples, basically.
That speaks to me. Okay, before we get into these recipes, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future vegan recipes every Sunday and whatever Wednesdays every other Wednesday. And without further ado, how do you like these apples?
Wow.
Hmm?
Wow.
Just thought of that.
That's great. To make your apple turnovers, we're gonna start off by preheating our oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Then in a medium pot, we're gonna melt down some vegan butter over medium heat, add in some diced Granny Smith apples, all-purpose flour, maple syrup, cinnamon, nutmeg, and stir to combine. Then we're gonna cook that, stirring occasionally until the apples just start to get soft, about 5 or so minutes. Next up, we're going to prep our puff pastry sheets. First, you're gonna wanna roll out your puff pastry into about 1/4 of an inch thick. Alternatively, you can also just buy puff pastry in sheets, which is what I prefer to do. Just couldn't find it this time. Once you roll out your puff pastry, you're gonna cut it into 4 equal-sized squares. Then you're gonna place the cooled apple mixture in the middle of each of those squares, leaving at least a 1/2 inch border all around. We're gonna brush some water on the edges, and then we're going to bring the edges together and crimp them so that it's nice and sealed. And we're gonna repeat that for the second sheet of puff pastry as well. Then we're going to place those on a parchment-lined baking sheet, and using a sharp knife, we're gonna cut a little slit on the top of them. I just did little X's on top so we can make sure that the seam has some place to escape. Then we're going to bake it for about 20 to 23 minutes. You may need to flip them partway through. It kind of depends on how your oven bakes them, but keep an eye on them. You don't want the bottom to burn. While the turnovers are still warm, we're gonna stir together some powdered sugar, non-dairy milk, and vanilla extract until we get our desired consistency. You should be able to make a figure 8 withdrawing with the icing before it disappears. And then you're gonna drizzle the glaze over the turnovers.
To make my apple fritter loaf, you're gonna start off by making your flax egg. So combine water and ground flaxseed in a little bowl, mix it together and let it set aside to thicken. Then you're going to peel and chop your apples. I cut them into pretty small pieces because that's just my personal preference for the loaf. If you want bigger pieces of apple in the loaf, you can go with a bigger piece, but I cut them pretty small. To your chopped apples, you're gonna add some sugar and cinnamon and then mix that all together and set that aside. Then in another small bowl, you're going to combine brown sugar and cinnamon. Just mix that together and again, set it aside. And then we're gonna work on the batter. So we're gonna start by combining some vegan butter and sugar and whip that all together until it's nice and fluffy. Then you're gonna add in the flax eggs and some vanilla extract and again, mix that all together until it's well combined. And in a separate bowl, you're going to mix together the flour, baking powder, and a little bit of salt. And then you're going to add that to the rest of the mixture and blend it all together. And then finally add in some non-dairy milk and mix it until it's all combined. Then you're going to grease your loaf pan and line it with some parchment paper. And we're going to add half the batter and then half the amount of chopped apples. And then generously sprinkle that with the brown sugar and cinnamon mixture. Then you're going to add the other half of the batter and you're going to top that with the rest of the apples. And again, generously sprinkle on that brown sugar and cinnamon topping. I put a lot on there because I really like those flavors, but it's kind of to your personal preference if you use up all of the brown sugar and cinnamon or not. And then you're gonna bake that in an oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about an hour. At the 1 hour mark, check it, do the toothpick test, and if it comes out clean, it's done. But if not, give it a few more minutes and check it again. I ended up doing about an hour and 10 minutes for mine. Once that's done, you're gonna just let it cool and set it aside. But while it's cooling, we can make the glaze. So you're gonna combine icing sugar, vanilla extract, non-dairy milk, and maple syrup, and just whisk that all together till it's well combined. And then once your loaf is cooled, you can pour over the glaze and you're done.
Here's my turnover, look.
Oh, it's so cute.
Thank you. They almost all of them exploded.
Oh.
I think I filled them a little too much.
I mean, I get it. I don't know, this loaf really emotional roller coaster for me.
Mmm. Oh my
Tastes
goodness.
delicious.
What's in there?
Catherine, I will admit, I was fully prepared to make something with puff pastry because I was like, that'll be easy. And then when you said you were using puff pastry, I was like, never mind.
I mean, you still could have.
I don't know, but I feel like any idea I had was going to be too similar to yours anyway. So I was like, I'll just try something different. It's not the end of the world if it's, you know, a challenge.
I mean, it
because
looks
it's called
delicious.
a challenge video.
It looks delicious.
Honestly, it really is. And I miss apple fritter donuts. I haven't had one in I don't even know when. So I would say that this satisfies that craving.
Good. This is such a good fall dessert.
This is very sweet too. So I'm feeling very, I have a lot of feelings.
Devin, what apples did you use in yours?
A red one.
A red one.
Maybe like a Macintosh. It looks kind of like a Macintosh apple.
Got it.
What about you?
I almost exclusively only use Granny Smith.
I know, I just asked that for fun. I knew what you were going to say.
Granny Smith apples are just like my fave, you know? They got such a good flavor.
And like when I was researching apple recipes, a lot of people do use Granny Smith, and I was like, well, why? Well, maybe I don't want to.
You
So I didn't.
You don't have to. You can use whatever apples you want.
That's right. How do you like them apples?
So should that be a question? What apples are your favorite apples? Because there's so many apples out there.
Sure. Well, yeah. Let's talk about apples.
Let's talk about apples in the comments. Favorite apples to eat, favorite apples to bake with, because sometimes it's different.
Mm-hmm.
Mine are all the same. I only buy Granny Smith apples, essentially.
And let's talk about apple recipes, too.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to make like an apple cake when I thought of this challenge, and then that didn't work out because I tried it and it was horrible. But I still want to try.
Well, then you should. And next time, I'm just gonna crack open some apple cider and call it a day.
That sounds like a great apple evening.
But either way, we hope you guys enjoy these recipes. Let us know your thoughts about the recipes in the comments, because of course we don't have a poll anymore for our challenge videos, but we still want to hear your thoughts because, you know, when me and Kat go head to head on these challenges, we need validation.
We need to know who's won.
But either way, the recipes will be linked in the description box below. There's also a link to our podcast. It's called Camera Eats First. Comes out every Monday, everywhere that you get podcasts. We talk about veganism, how we make our recipes, how we run our blog, and we keep you up to date on trending news topics in the vegan world. There's also a link to our Patreon community. Our patrons are a lovely group of people who help support the work that we do, and in exchange, we give them some bonus content. So if you're able to support us, we really appreciate that. But if not, that's okay. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, and share it with somebody who needs some more apple recipes in their apple season.
Everybody.
Everyone should like them apples. Yes. I'm just gonna keep saying them apples.
I fully lifted up my pumpkin pie in the middle of this video.
Oh my gosh, spoiler alert.
I got so distracted by it. I was just literally examining it and I'm like, oh, it's in the shot.
Well, if you've watched this far, you know what recipe's coming next.
Okay, bye. Do we say bye on this thing? I don't even know how this works anymore.
I don't know. Eventually we just kind of walk off the screen in the outtakes.
Bye-bye.
Like this. Yeah, like exactly.